let's see, we got werewolves. Okay, well, I already kind of did one about werewolves. Let's see. Werewolves are always different. Every story is different. The only thing they can ever really agree on is that silver is what will end them rightly, as it were. Trying to think. I didn't talk about it before. Well, they're my favorite of the classic monsters, because not only do you have the Jekyll and Hyde kind of feel, because it's usually a curse, and it's usually kind of ambiguous, and it's one that it doesn't really affect. It's not so much the person who is cursed, the person who actually, the werewolf himself. He's not really the one that's cursed. It's everybody else that's cursed, because he goes out at night and he preys upon the humans for whatever reason, and because he's a predator. And then he wakes up and he realizes, Freddy, no. Like they even said in Harry Potter, kill his best friend if it crossed paths that on a full moon. And the Lon Chaney Wolfman, the old black and white Wolfman, the OG. There's a prayer that they recite often, and it's or not a prayer, excuse me, just a phrase. It's he who says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. So it just showcases that no matter what you do, this beast is still going to be there, and you're still going to run the risk of terrorizing and killing people, no matter how pious you are. It's indifferent. And so you can try, you can struggle all you want. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything to deserve being turned into a werewolf. Some people were born werewolves in different stories. But, so yeah, it's not something that's necessarily, it's not your fault. It's almost never the fault of the actual werewolves that they become what they are. Usually been done to them. That's, again, just another tragedy of it. And then on top of it, that usually it's also pretty common trope is that they have to be somebody has to have mercy on them and end their life for them, because a lot of times they can't do it themselves physically, or a lot. But anyways, and so it has to be a loved one that does it, and that's hard enough. But in Lon Chaney's Wolfman, again, my personal favorite, it's his dad, and his dad is a really good guy. Well, he's a pretty good guy. He's pretty much a typical English dad, aristocratic English dad. So he's like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, son. Don't let this get to you. Don't let it rattle you. You're not a werewolf. It's ridiculous. And kind of just does all the kind of stereotypical fatherly things to try and convince him that he's not a werewolf. Anyways, and so he ends up getting the Lon Chaney's silver cane, which interestingly was the same weapon that was used to kill the werewolf that turned Lon Chaney into a wolfman. Into a werewolf. But his dad has it, and while Lon Chaney, he's going to kill his girlfriend in wolf form, his dad comes to the rescue and doesn't know it's him, and he ends up saving the girl, but has to kill his son to do it. And then his son turns back into a human after he's dead, because that's also really common in the werewolf stories, lycanthropy stories. Then he's like, oh, sweet Lord, what have I done? And what's even more tragic is the fact that that was his last son, because he had 2 boys, but one was murdered, or was actually, no, it doesn't say in the original movies how he died, but that he is no more. And that's what brings Lon Chaney back to his dad, is for the funeral and everything. So, but the good thing though is that nobody ever knows. They think they see Lon Chaney there, and they're like, "Oh man, he must have come to try and save the girl," and then he just got caught up in the middle, wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. But just the look on Claude Rains, that's who plays his dad, just the look on his face is just mortified, which it should be. Not only did he just see his a werewolf that happened to be his son, he also had to kill him. Not only should no parent ever have to bury their child, it should never be like that. Just tragic upon tragic. And even like in what's that one movie? Silver Bullet. They the Reverend turns out to be the werewolf, and just the idea that it never explains how he became a werewolf, just that he is a werewolf. And it comes out that I had to look it up at one point, because I was like, I'm just not convinced. There's got to be something. He didn't just wake up and become a werewolf. I mean, my theory for the longest time was that he just like used a public toilet and got contracted it, like some kind of weird, horrible disease. But no, I was like, well, I mean, that's kind of just stupid. But I mean, how else would a reverend become a werewolf by accident? And so I googled it, and it said that the theory was that, now they mentioned it apparently some point in the movie, but I think is what it said. Anyways, he was picking wolfbane flowers, or the plant, in the cemetery one night and under a full moon, and that's what turned him into a werewolf. Just doing flowers, just picking up weeds at a cemetery, and then suddenly now you're he thinks he's the avenging force of God, but he's just a werewolf. And he goes about trying to do the closest thing he can to justice or rightness, and he tries to only focus on people that are either drunk or about to commit suicide, that kind of thing. And so in his mind, it's a mercy. But that's also the only thing he can think to do, being a priest and being cursed as a werewolf. There's only so much he can do to. He's like, well, there's got to be a reason. This has to be on purpose. This, for one, they don't exist, and then just all things, just the falling down aspect of it. It's like, that would be torture too, because it takes really special people to become a priest. I have a few friends of mine that are really near and dear to me that are priests, and whenever they've explained to me, they have to basically get straight A's in the entire seminary, or they do not become a priest. It's stressful, and then there's a lot of expectation. Like, I had one priest that was doing marriage counseling for me and my wife, or not counseling, but marriage prep, and he would tell us a story that his car didn't have windows, and so he had to ride his bike all the way across town to the hospital to do last rites for somebody who was dying. And it's like, dude, that's kind of macho right there. So I have to be a priest. I'm called to service. Here I am, Lord, send me. That kind of thing. That's just, some of my greatest heroes are priests. Anyways, so to just have a werewolf just not a werewolf that was a priest become a werewolf and then not care and just be like excited for it, or not be absolutely tortured by it, is kind of just unheard of and unthinkable. It just doesn't make sense. So of course he has to find some kind of purpose in it, which I think a lot of us would. But yeah. And then let's see what else. That's about all I really had on werewolves. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. Okay, let's see what this one is. I need to do it next time. Oh, the Holy Grail. Well, we just did King Arthur, so we'll put that back for now. Alrighty. Let's see. Let's try another one. Just need to kind of finish out this drawing here. Let's see. Norse myths, Thor's hammer. Okay. Well, that one is fun. Was it the theft of Thor's hammer? Norse myths. Yeah, the theft of Thor's hammer. That one is fun. Kind of almost a little bit of a fever. Well, not really a fever dream of a myth, but so, one day, some Jotun, some frost giant, decided he had the gumption to go and steal Thor's hammer, the lightning itself, basically. And he steals it right while Thor's sleeping. So naturally, whenever Thor wakes up, sparks fly from his red beard, because in Norse myth he actually has a red beard and hair. He's not blonde like Chris Hemsworth. He's red like a Viking. Excuse me. Yeah, so that's important to remember. Anyways, so sparks fly from his beard and he goes storming after Loki, who's his father's blood brother, so kind of his uncle, not really his brother. Also, again, fun fact. Let's see. So, and he's like, oh, no, it wasn't me. And so, I forgot how they find it, but, oh, wow, it's been a while since I've actually studied this myth, or read this myth, but they find out that it was a Jotun, a frost giant, and he wants Freya, the goddess of beauty and love, to be his wife. Well, naturally. And then he also wants... Nope, that's just it. He just wants Freya. Another story, they want Freya and the sun and the moon. And so they're like, oh, hell no. Anyways, so barring that, he just wants Freya. Well, of course, they're not going to suggest it. Well, then Loki gets the bright idea, or Heimdall, one of the kind of trickster guys, gets the idea to send Thor dressed up in a bride's outfit as Freya. And I don't know, by the luck of the gods, it just works, and they get her done. Ouch. And it's kind of funny because at the feast, the frost giant, he wants to kiss her, or what he thinks is her, and so he lifts up the veil, and then he just like sparks fly out, and he's like, and he just sees these red beating eyes, and Loki, of course, had to go as like her maiden, and he's like, oh, she's just been staying. She couldn't sleep the whole way here. It takes like 9 days to kill. She's been up for like 9 days just pining away for you. And he's like, oh, that's so sweet. And then he just kind of ignores it. And then, again, whenever it's time for the feast, Thor, who's usually seen as a kind of a glutton, he downs like 3 salmon, an oxen, and then 2 kegs of beer. an ale, and everybody's like, kind of Scooby-Doo double take. And then Loki, being really quick thinking, he's like, she's just really hungry because while she's been pining for you, she hasn't been able to eat. She's been so worried. She's been so worked up. So, of course, for some reason, he accepts that. And they move on and on. Pretty much just a bunch of other small things like that. And then finally, to bless marriages, they would often give the bride a hammer and lay it in her lap for a ceremony. So whenever they do that, he picks up the hammer and cries havoc and lets him have it. And then, of course, naturally, he wins, and they get the hammer back, and off they go. So it's kind of a short myth, but it's just so funny. The god of thunder, the god of strength, is to get up in a wedding dress and almost gets kissed by the frost giant to go get it back. It's so funny. I heard somebody call it basically just the wildest D&D campaign. And I mean, kind of, yeah. Not untrue. A lot of Norse myths feel that way. Sound that way, anyways. Yeah. So my drawing might be kind of all over the place, but that's how we roll. That started with King Arthur, and then we talk about MASH, and then we talk about werewolves. Now we're talking about Norse myths, so now I'm going for Stonehenge, kind of. Alright. Let's see. That's pretty much the story of the theft of Thor's hammer, as I remember it. I'm actually trying to. There's more to this story, but like everything, there's different versions, but that's the main focus points. I'm trying to keep this video shorter. I've been going overtime on them, and I'm trying to keep it under wraps. Let's see. Let's talk about the Holy Grail for just a second, since I did pull it out a second ago. The Holy Grail, it's one of my personal symbols. It's what I use as like my badge, my personal badge, my personal kind of symbol, sigil, if you will, is the Holy Grail. And just first off, it's ironic because in the story, that's really where the Grail becomes popular. I don't really think there is much of a biblical standing for it. It's kind of just made up, as far as I can ever really find out. Anyways, but it represents spiritual truth, because at the time, King Arthur and his knights had basically conquered the world in a nutshell. And so now they're inspired to go and not conquer, but to go and just learn and master the spiritual life, the spiritual world, to understand that better. And so they get a vision of the Holy Grail, the cup that caught the blood of Christ, apparently, at least according to the myth. But it's also funny because they go on this whole giant quest, and a lot of them pass away before anybody ever finds it. And there's only one guy that ends up getting a vision of it, and then he dies. Yeah, fun times. Anyways, fun times. And then let's see. But yeah, so it's supposed to hold the blood of Jesus in it. Well, if you're Catholic, then you'll know that whenever they do communion, it's the body and the blood, Jesus, the transubstantiation. It's a beautiful ritual. It's a beautiful practice. It's a beautiful belief. But anyways, And it's a beautiful part of Christianity. And so they believe that the wine turns into blood in a nutshell. I'm not gonna try and explain transubstantiation in a YouTube video right now of me just sketching. But the important part is that it's about spiritual enlightenment. But anyways, what's interesting is that it's the cup of the Holy Grail is supposed to be the cup that caught the blood of Christ. Well, at every Mass, they do the body of blood of Jesus, the bread and the wine, and the wine becomes blood, and therefore every chalice at Mass is the Holy Grail. So, in other words, and because most of the knights in this story were Catholic at the time, should have realized, hey, I don't need to go halfway across the world to find it. It's already here. I already have it. It's already in my own backyard, as it will. So it kind of just shows it that we don't necessarily have to go. You don't have to make trips to the Holy Land, to Jerusalem, to Italy. I mean, by all means, if you can, go do it. But there's nothing bad about it. But at the same time, that Jesus is supposed to live Jesus lives in our hearts. He doesn't live in a cup on the other side of the world. I mean, he's there too. He's everywhere. But you don't have to go that far. You can just go to church and find him. And so that, to me, is kind of one of the beautiful things about it, the Holy Grail in itself. But that, and the reason I use it as one of my personal symbols is because it represents the search for God and for enlightenment in all of us. It's the search for the divine in all of us, like they said in Indiana Jones. No surprise, that's my favorite Indiana Jones, is The Last Crusade. Because they're looking for the Holy Grail. Knights and quests. It's beautiful. It's right around. It's my type. Mother trucker, it's my type kind of moment. Anyways, so yeah, let me get this sucker filled in here. These two, and we should be pretty good to go our separate ways. If true love finds you, alright, but yeah, the Holy Grail. It also never really says, I don't ever remember learning what it's supposed to do. The healing powers that's supposed to have, other than it's just a holy relic. But it's just such a striking symbol. And because the chalice also represents the Last Supper, of course, and it's my favorite Bible passage. It was right around the Last Supper, and it's the greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. And that's what I'm doing for you, is what he says to us. That's just beautiful. And to me, the crown of thorns and the chalice are kind of, well, the chalice is the emblem of the Last Supper. You know, and everybody has a, no pun intended, a come to Jesus moment. Because, you know, Peter gets told he's going to deny him 3 times. Thomas, I don't know if he gets told that, but he ends up doubting. Jesus came back, and just a whole mess happens. But a whole mess of stuff happens. But it's good. It's supposed to happen. And with that, we're donezo. Alright. Thank you for watching, and this has been One Man's Opinion. I'm Juno, and I will see you next time.